Hello, everybody. This is Seniors for Seniors. My name is Sabina. I'm back again with fascinating guests again. They're people who, the guests are made up of people who help you, who you would benefit knowing. I think by now you all know I'm very opinionated, and I feel very strongly about what's going on in the world today. But first I want you to meet my two guests. They are both pharmacists. One is Frank, and his brother is Rich. Who would know that I'd go blank on the word Rich? That's amusing. And they are both pharmacists in two different towns. And the reason I asked them on is because now we have pharmacists that are in like a department store. You know, you all know who I'm talking about. They're in all the towns in the town of North Hempstead, which is where this program is coming from. And the truth of the matter is, as seniors, we remember growing up when we had a candy store, we had a hardware store, we had Woolworth, the 5 and 10, and we had the drugstore, the pharmacy. That was a very special place. It's funny, you didn't make noise as you went by. This is how we were brought up, you know. Whoa, that's for sick people, don't make noise. And I just like having special attention. Call me an egomaniac, and I don't want to get my pills where I get my frozen TV dinners. So I go to a place called Great Neck Chemists. Excuse me, Rich, what's the name of your...
Precision Pharmacy.
Makes sense to me. And they know me. When I come in, they know me. And something happened one day. You seniors know that we don't have one doctor. We have 33 of them. And he takes care of all my prescriptions. And I came in, I put this prescription down, and the guy said to me, you want it delivered? I said, no, I'll pick it up in a while. And I turned to walk out and got 3 steps away, and he said, oh, I can't fill this for you. I said, why? He said, well, this is from Dr. So-and-so, but you're taking medication from another doctor, and they don't go together. I said, he said, didn't you tell him what you were taking? I said, no, you know. I said, now what am I going to do? He said, I'll call him, and he'll fax me a different prescription. And that's the kind of service that I like. But would you tell me the advantage to using I mean, your store has related products. You have toothpaste and toothbrushes and shampoo and creams and that kind of stuff. But it's a store, and you know your customers.
When you utilize one pharmacy for all your medications, we know exactly what you're taking, what your disease states may or may not be, and we're able to check for drug interactions with other drugs, what you're actually taking it for, and we're able to handle whatever comes along a lot better than somebody that utilizes multiple pharmacies. They don't know your background. They don't know what else you're taking.
They don't know you. You're a stranger.
And they don't know you.
And you apparently feel the same way.
There's a comfortability factor that goes in with using a pharmacy. People like to feel comfortable with their doctor and with their pharmacist. I like to think of us as we're the bridge between the doctor and the patient. People are more comfortable talking to us, asking us questions. Doctors nowadays seem like you get in, you get out, and you always forget to ask them that last important question. That's what we're here for.
But you know what? You're very young, and we have always left the doctors and said on the way home, oh, I forgot to ask them. And the prescription's there, and you say, okay, when I take the prescription in, I'll ask the pharmacist, he'll know. And it's not that we have to know, it's that it gives you peace of mind.
Absolutely. And I'm not that young that I haven't done it. And I forget to ask the doctor a million questions. And it's nice to have the knowledge to answer some of those questions yourself. And we're glad to do it for people. And that's a value that we can give to our customers that they might not be able to get elsewhere.
Well, I don't think, when you say you're not that young, I don't think it even has to do with age. When you go to the doctor, for some reason or other, you're going in and the message is, oh, he's really busy, I can't take up much of his time.
Everybody's intimidated when they go to the
and why?
doctor and they don't. Well,
They taught us in pharmacy school that doctors sometimes have a God complex. And they're so good and so knowledgeable in their field that they might be up here. But pharmacists are down here with everybody else. We're on the same plane.
But that's what we do. We answer questions that weren't asked up front. And we also know if you're taking drugs, and people like to ask us questions about over-the-counter medications that everybody views as harmless.
Oh, that is something that I really want to talk about. Over-the-counter sleep aids. First of all, I don't think you should take a sleep aid unless you have to, and then under the right supervision. But, you know, isn't it kind of abused, the over-the-counter?
Well, some are safe and some aren't. Some come with side effects, and some come with things that you can't do. For instance, somebody taking something for if a man has a prostate condition, he shouldn't be taking something as simple as an antihistamine or a decongestant with high blood pressure. It's pretty simple, but if people don't ask or if you don't know, you do
That's right.
it.
I forgot high blood pressure and low blood pressure enter into how your medication affects you.
We're 3 feet away from the over-the-counter section, so it's very easy to ask us that question before you purchase it. In a big department store or a chain store, the pharmacist's not always at the ready. So you might buy something and then regret it later and buy the wrong medication. So that's what we're there for.
Oh, there's something I want to ask you about briefly, and that is your robot thing, because I'm not the only old person that takes 97 pills a day, and as opposed to having these ugly bottles on the counter in the kitchen, I have little things. And about every 10 days, I fill them up with the pills, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so forth. And I understand, you know, it should be my worst problem in life and big deal, and so what? But I understand that now you're going to have something new that will eliminate that.
Well, what we're trying to do is everybody's trying to get the patient to take their medication in a timely fashion when you're supposed to take it, when you're supposed to take it. So what we do is we dubbed it the Precision Pack, and we came out with something with the use of robotics that actually prepackages medication. So if you're taking medication in the morning, all 4 drugs are in the same little blister pack that you can just open up or take with you if you're not going to be home, and you won't forget to take 1 medication or 2. They'll all be together.
Well, I looked at that at his shop, and it's like on a wheel. You know, they're little, it's a plastic strip, and they're little bags, actually. And they have pills in them, and they're on this wheel. And on the top of this plastic is Monday, the date, the time it should be
Right,
taken.
so it's on a roll, and it comes out so that when you take your first dose, the next dose will be right behind it.
Yep.
So if you take your morning dose and there is a noon dose, it'll be right there, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and because it's on the roll, you take the first one, and then you look, that has the date again, the time. All right, that was 8 o'clock in the morning, this is 12 noon, lunchtime, whatever. And your name is on it, and you know that's my next group of pills that I take.
Right.
I think that's fantastic.
And like Frank said, if you're going away for the weekend, you don't have to take all your medicine with you. You just have to take enough
Yeah.
for when you're away.
Wow. And that is on the market now?
It's on the market now. We're doing it now.
Is it expensive?
There's no charge. All we ask is that you fill your prescriptions with us.
There is no charge. Wow, can you come home and clean my house also?
Absolutely. We'll send the robot over.
Oh. It's interesting. I thought that there was a charge. Well, do you have that at your pharmacy also?
Great Neck Chemist is spearheading this. So they're the first store to have it in our group of stores. So we're going to see how that does, and then we're going to bring it into our stores as well. Because I think it's a great selling point. I think it's great for compliance. If someone takes their medicine the right way, at the right time, it helps our job become easier.
Yes, and as far as the patient goes, and I don't know if the viewers know this, when you're uptight, nothing is right, and you're uptight, and you say, well, that's because I hurt here. If you'd relax, you wouldn't hurt there, and then so forth. And I don't think you realize that for the patient, it's not just taking their medication. It's knowing, oh, I don't have to worry about it. You know, now, wait a minute, was that the morning one or was that the lunch one?
It's
Well, that's
frustrating.
half the battle is taking the medication. The other half the battle is ordering the medication, having it picked up or delivered. And hopefully this Precision Pack takes care of a lot of that for them so that there's a lot less tension and stress on medication.
Well, I'm in your store all the time, and I keep saying to myself, I have to have my medications worked out so that 4 or 5 of them have to be renewed at the same time, because I got this prescription, and then a couple days later I got this prescription, and then this prescription. So it's, I'm going to the drugstore, I'm going to the drugstore.
It can be frustrating. We understand that, and we
Yeah.
try to help as best we can.
Do you feel strongly about the multi-groups of, you know, what I call the warehouses, the chain?
The chain pharmacies,
Yeah.
do we feel strongly about them? Well,
I mean, they're your competition, but do you feel that... and
it's
of course-
competition, it's healthy competition,
Yeah,
but the
common
service,
sense says
I believe,
you
of
get
course, that
better service from you.
well, of course, we believe
More
that we're
attention.
providing a lot more attention and a lot more services that they can't provide.
And there are some good pharmacists that work at the chains, but the actual size of the store makes it hard for them to have that one-on-one personal service that we can do on a daily basis.
It's also, you have a few pharmacists, and customers come in at different times, and they get to know the few people. When you go to a supermarket chain, it seems there's always somebody different behind the counter, and and I don't know if I never did it when I was young, but I never had a pharmacist when I was young, and now I find myself saying, my pharmacist.
But there's a lot more stability at a private, independently owned drugstore instead of a chain pharmacy. They're always rotating. There's always different people. You know, staff is
think-
one day here, one day not.
I think the biggest thing that we give the public is consistency, and it really helps. If it's not the same pharmacist, maybe it's the same manager, the same delivery guy, the same cashier. It makes you comfortable, and I know what happened yesterday. I know what happened last week. If you go into a chain, you might see Fred, then Ed, then Ethel. And it makes it.
We get to know our customers pretty well.
Yeah. And when you get older, your memory starts to go, and when you're in the big place, you can't remember, is that Fred or is that Ed?
It's true.
But we'll know
really
you.
is
We'll know
true.
who you are.
And the audience knows I'm not the only one who's, you know, old, and young people are not watching. But I don't know, I just feel safe. And it's a part of the past. It's the old drugstore. And everybody there knows me.
It's
So-
important. It's important. No matter how
Yeah.
you look at it, it's very important.
What Now, when it's interesting because, all right, you're a pharmacy, but I always call it a drugstore. And yet the name of your shop, of your store, is Great Neck Chemists. A pharmacist is a chemist?
He's a chemist. It's probably an old term, but it's a term for a pharmacist.
And a reason why we call it that is there are some drugs that are not available commercially on the market. And we do something called compounding, which we make drugs that are not available. So if a doctor wants a drug in a certain strength that doesn't become that way, we can create that.
Wow.
So we do go and become back into chemistry lab every once in a while. And we create new drugs that aren't available to help a patient or a doctor with a problem.
So you didn't just go to college for 2 years, now I'm a chemist. You really know what you're doing.
We also, in addition to college, Frank and I went to a compounding center located in Texas, and we did training there to be compounding pharmacists.
Right. We do a lot of compounding in our Belmore location. We do strictly a lot of compounds for a lot of doctors that are not prescribing things that are traditionally or commercially available.
So you get some of your supplies from your brother.
Yes.
I like that. No, you know, and I'm sure that,
He charges me a fair price.
okay, us older people, it's in our day there was a family value, and wow, the boys are together, they're in the same field, so he's in Belmore, he's in Great Neck, but they do business together.
We get along better that I'm in Belmore and he's in Great Neck.
Oh yes, I am sure. And
We have two other partners, two brothers, the Stella brothers, and they're also partners with us, and the four of us rotate between the four stores.
Wait a minute, there are four of you,
Four partners, yes.
or four brothers, or two brothers.
Two
from
brothers
this
and
family
another
and
family of two other
from-
brothers, yes.
Okay, that's very interesting. Wow.
And these two brothers, their dad is a pharmacist, and he owned a store in Brooklyn where we grew up. And we all started working at his pharmacy
You're from Brooklyn.
We're from Brooklyn.
originally, yes.
Everybody's from
Everybody comes from Brooklyn.
And my whole life I wanted to be from Brooklyn. I grew up in Manhattan, and I would say, Daddy, could we move to Brooklyn? He'd say, Sabina, people are trying to get out, not in. I was always underprivileged. Wow, that's, I like that. So, as I say, you're not just the guy who's putting pills in the bottle. You know your people, and as I say, when I come into your store, you can see right to the door, and either who, depends on who's behind the counter, hi Sabina or hi Mrs. Miller. And it's not that I'm an egomaniac. You like to feel that they know who you are.
Well, I'm there a lot, and I think they call you a lot more than that.
That's after you leave, Sabina. But it's human nature to feel welcomed. And if you can feel welcome in your pharmacy.
And comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, see, the main thing for, I don't know about younger people, they don't have time to feel comfortable or know that they need to feel comfortable. The young people now are running from this job to this job to this location, going home, having their wife say, you're late for dinner, da-da-da-da, you know. Young people, I think, live under more pressure than my generation did, but for the older generation, and I don't think a lot of them know it, comfort is very important, because when you're not comfortable and you're like this, that's when what makes you sick.
Stress.
Yeah.
Well, we have, for the younger people, you know, we have websites that people can go on and they can order prescriptions and refills. But as you do get older, people are more apt to call you on the telephone, come in, stop in, ask you for what they need. And I think that's a comfort level that they still
Yeah.
have at the independent drugstore.
Yes, well, as I say, and my philosophy is get up and get out, and so I say, don't call the pharmacy and say, I need a refill, what time are you going to deliver it? I'll listen for the doorbell. Get up, get your clothes on, go to the store. And then as long as you're out, go someplace else,
Right.
you know. And as I say, it's the mind plays a big part, I think, in the health. When you're uptight, your body's not working right. When you're relaxed, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
But during the winter months, the delivery is a nice service to
Absolutely.
take advantage of.
Absolutely. During the delivery months, there are times when you don't feel well.
Yes.
Then, you know,
That's peace of mind too, to know if I can't get to them,
they will come to me.
They'll get to me.
And
You
that's
don't need
what I
people in
say.
the snow, driving in the snow or falling on the ice.
Does every private, are you a pharmacy or a drugstore? You're a pharmacy, technically
we're a
speaking.
pharmacy.
We're both.
Drugstore is just a different term for it, but they call
Okay.
it mom and pop pharmacy is what the numbers are dwindling at this point.
Or independent
yeah.
pharmacy versus chains.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. Are they dwindling? And do they all have delivery service?
I think most
I would
do.
say most do. That's one of their main points of importance for retail pharmacies. Hey, we deliver. We can get it to you. Maybe the chains guy can't. We can get it to you. So
Wow.
You know, and some people don't just have prescriptions delivered. You have other things that you may need, you know, as a Motrin or an Advil or something like that if you can't get out.
Wow, that's amazing. And you are the older of the two brothers?
Yes.
So you became the pharmacist first?
Yes.
And how far behind?
I'm 7 years behind my brother Frank, and in my 8th grade class, when they ask what I want to be underneath my picture, I have pharmacist.
Why?
Because,
It was your father one?
no, Frank and our partner John were childhood friends, and they were friendly when Frank was in college. And he said, when I graduate, they agreed we're going to buy a store, and we're going to run this store. And I was there on the first week that they were there, and I couldn't drive or anything, so I was a stock boy, and then I evolved into a cashier, and I evolved into a delivery boy, and I evolved into an intern. So I knew when I go to school, I'm going to get out and I'm going to help Frank and John. And our partner Frank, his name is Frank also, he's younger than I am, and I think that was his same driving force when he went to school. And he said, I'm going to get out and I'm going to help the boys. And so we kind of, Frank and John they blazed the path, and I
Yeah.
knew, I consider myself lucky because at least I had a focus. A lot of college
Yeah.
kids now, they don't know what they want to
They
do.
I'm very analytical. I often try to figure out why, and I don't know if it's that there are more things open now than when I got out of college.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That was a long time ago. And now with technology and computers and all this magic that's going on, and how do you know what makes you choose? Which is why I asked.
You really don't when you're growing up most of the time.
Yeah.
And they want you to make a decision at 17 or 18 years of age what you're going to do with the rest of your life, and it's very difficult for a lot of the
and
kids.
half the time you don't even know what's out there.
Right. You have to make one of the most important decisions in your life, and you're really not ready to make a big decision. You're still a kid,
Yeah.
and it's tough. And that's why I consider myself very lucky, because I knew what I wanted
the
to
beginning.
do. Yeah.
Wow. And it is a very different world. More so for seniors because, and I don't want to get into politics, but we lived in a time when the most prestigious job in the world was to be President of the United States, and it has been reduced to not what I can do for you, but what's wrong with him. You know, it's different times, and it takes adjusting.
Absolutely.
Would you say that What percentage of your business would you say are seniors?
Large percentage.
Well, more
I
seniors
believe
take
that a large percentage of
medication.
a lot of pharmacies these days are seniors. Obviously, everyone's living longer, and everyone's living longer. A lot of it's due to medication.
Yeah, but yeah, and you feel the same way?
Yeah, the clientele usually is elderly and young children. So the young kids that are sick usually come to get their medicine, and the elderly get their maintenance medication from us. And then there's everybody in between.
Yeah.
Right. And a big part of our business in Great Neck is actually servicing assisted living facilities, a big part of the geriatric population.
Oh, do we have? Well, it's independent living, assisted living, and long-term care, and we have a lot of them in Great Neck. And actually, one of the independent livings is right across the street from one of the big
Chain stores.
chain stores. And the problem is the lines. They have 2 or 3 cashiers on, and they'll have 15 people on each line, spending $1, $2, you know.
Yep.
But they're not providing the services for these assisted living facilities. That's why they're looking elsewhere for their pharmaceutical needs.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, they have a little pharmacy in the back, and a lot of chairs because people sit and wait.
Right.
And quite frankly, I go to a small pharmacy. I give them the prescription. They know me. They say, "Do you want it delivered?" I say, "Yes, what time?" And I get it. Anyway, I want to thank you two for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I know that I'm not a unique senior, and I'm curious about things, and I'm sure that the viewing audience learned things they didn't know before. I'd like to thank both of you for coming. I'm sure I learned something. I'm sure our audience enjoyed it. And thank you for tuning in, watching, listening. See you again. Bye-bye.